everybody. I'm delighted to introduce my guest on From the Horse Box this month, who is Jeremy Reid, who is the recently retired huntsman from the Flint and Denbigh. He still lives very near to the kennels, and it's a great pleasure to be here on this sunny morning.
Morning, Claire. Yeah, no, delighted to talk to you. Delighted to.
You're someone who's very at home with horse boxes, with some hounds in, and so I'm very excited to hear all your stories. And there'll be a lot of interested people from the Flint and Denbigh, as well as quite a few other packs. And I'd like to ask you about your traditional hunting education, where it began, really.
I was born in Crawley Horsham country, around Neck Castle, quite close to the hunt kennels. My father used to hunt a lot. He used to ride Lord and Lady Burrells, dodgy pointers for them. And obviously hunting's been in my life, all my life. And it became, the older I got, the more keener I got. I used to go, if the hounds were in the area, on my bicycle. And then I used to tag on to the terrier men, and they guided me and got me enthusiastic. And Nigel Peel was... my mother moved to the Chiddingfold and Leckfield, and I started hunting with them. And Nigel Peel was very amazingly good at and encouraging me to come hunting, and took me under his wing a bit, encouraged me to go to work for him, and it sort of, things didn't work out at that time, but I eventually was very fortunate to be introduced to Captain Wallace, who said he would try and find me, find a position somewhere. At 6:30 one morning, which when he normally rang people to me, he rang me and offered me a position as kennelman down on Exmoor, where my hunting career started, which was quite an education going down there, having lived in the depths of Sussex.
Captain Wallace is still talked about today and referred to as God. I mean, why was he called God, in the hunting world?
I'm sure I've read it somewhere why he was called God. There was an autobiography done about him. He expected very high standards from anybody and everybody, whether you were a subscriber, terrier man, foot follower. If you overstepped the mark, you were told in a very gentlemanlike way. You were told. On occasions he might send. He'll send you home. And he expected the hunting etiquette to be carried out by everybody, not just his staff. He looked after his staff incredibly well, paid them appallingly, but looked after them very well. My days on Exmoor are the most amazing memories. At Simmersbath, where the kennels are, just down the road you've got the Staghound Kennels. There's a pub there a yard down. I think when I met there was 7 different packs met there that year. He was very much involved in the political side. I know we're in the position we are now with hunting, but it started straight after the war. We've been, it's not recently, the last 20 years or 25, 30 years, but it's been end of the First World War. In 1949, they first tried to stop hunting.
Yes, yeah.
And he was very much involved in that. But his love was the hounds. And to say he did have that golden thread between him and his hounds, without a doubt. On many occasions, when I was whipping into him, I was never too far away from him, because he was sort of towards the end of his hunting career. He needed someone just to make sure he was, able to get to the hounds as quickly as he can. And he'd literally, hounds would check, and you'd get there and he'd say to me, "What's happened, boy?" And you'd tell him. He said, "Well, the hounds came here, so they checked." And he might go on half a mile. And off they go again. He had this magical, and he was ever so quiet with his hounds, blew his hunting on when he had to. Too many people I see now, it's like trumpet voluntary. It's more about the hounds. It's more about they think it's more about the hunting horn and them, but it's the hounds that do the work.
So, if he was God, are you one of his disciples? Did he pass this on to you?
Without a doubt. Yeah. He followed my, he followed my career. As soon as I it was announced I was going to get married, my wife Lucy, he wanted to meet her to make sure that it was which to guide me which way. I mean, my time on Exmoor was fantastic. A little story. I've been there after my first season. I was promoted to second whipper in after being kennelman, and after 2 seasons, he quite often didn't hunt on a Thursday because he'd be up in London in the House of Parliament. He walked past me and he said, "Jeremy, put your name on the list and we'll see if we can find you a job." And I was taken aback a bit. Anyway, on the Saturday, I said to him, because we always hacked onto most meets there. I mean, it might be an hour and a half, 2 hours to a meet. We generally hacked onto most meets because generally we draw back towards the kennels. And anyway, I said to him, "Morning, sir." And he said, "How many hounds we got?" And I told him how many hounds we got. And I said, "Is there any chance I can come and see you?" "Of course you can, Jeremy. Is there a problem?" I said, "No, not the slightest." And he said, "All right, okay, leave it with me. And he said to me on the Monday, he said on Monday before hunting, "Come and see me tonight." So, and off I popped, and he said, I got there, and he said, "Pour yourself a whiskey and we'll sit down and have a chat." So we sat there, and I said to him, "I really don't want to leave down here because I love it. The hunting's fantastic. I don't think I'll experience hunting like this again. I'd like to stay for another season." He said, "Let me have a think about it." Anyway, the following Saturday, I was legging him up on his horse, and he said to me, "Jeremy, I've had a thought about this. You can stay, but I'm not going to pay you any more money."
Yes. Well, I've been speaking to another of the disciples, somebody called Bert
Loud,
Bertie,
yeah.
and he suggested that I ask you about a certain bungalow on there and some of these parties.
Well, there was the living accommodation down in Exmoor. I mean, as I was saying, it was very much not the best paid job in the world. And we lived hand to mouth, but everybody knew it, and all the local tradesmen were incredibly generous. The butcher, because we were nearly 10 miles from the nearest shop. So in them days, the butcher might call in and drop some. He might, "I've got a bit of ham that's going off, boys. I'll leave it with you," or at Christmas, "I've overordered on the turkeys. There you go, boys."
Yeah.
And the bungalow was, we all lived in it. When I first moved down there, I had to live in a caravan because there wasn't enough room in the bungalow. Quite often I'd wake up in the morning, the door had blown open. And anyway, the bungalow it slept for four young lads, underpaid, undernourished, and we had a tremendous time. It was some wild times, and I think we'll leave it at that one.
Oh, right. I was not going to get any more on the wild parties. Apparently, the captain liked to be invited to them, and on one occasion he wasn't invited, and he came down.
Oh right, no, he was obviously a little bit older, a bit wiser, and realised the sort of parties that went on down there.
Another
plenty of whiskey.
Yeah, another bit of research I did with Mr. Chris Woodward, and I gather you were there when he sort of started off. I've been very fortunate. I was at Flint and Denbigh since '98, from 1998 to 2019. I had some really good whipper-ins, some really good lads, and most of them have gone on to a very high standard. Chris Woodward, who everybody knows was huntsman of the Wednesday for a bit, is now hunting at Heathrow. He's done a tremendous job, and here, and I go down quite often and have a day with him down there, and he goes well down there. And I've got Mark Melody, who whipped into me for 6 seasons. He now hunts the Ledbury. And then there's Josh Tierney. Josh Tierney, he's gone from stride to stride. He's now going. Chris is now retiring from the Heathrow. He's now replacing him at the Heathrow. And it shows that my education and encouragement to these young lads have made them gone to good places. So, reputation has it that it's quite a hard training.
Yeah.
You are not it's not. I suppose it's tough love, isn't it?
Yeah.
To train these lads up, and probably how you were trained.
Yeah.
Is that how you were trained? Is that how you
mentored
other people?
It all goes back to my time on Exmoor with the captain who and when I was at the Pytchley. They are old style people who expect to be done right, and there is no not right. You dress properly, you behave properly. You're a gentleman's gentleman, and you are expected to. You work 24/7. I mean, you're on duty 24/7. You may not be working 24/7, but you are representing the hunt. And what the hunt represents. If you go, to the pub, we expected to put, to dress smartly. And behave within, obviously sometimes things do go a bit awry, but as long as you behave in a decent, and especially the standard, the kennels cleanliness, the kennel side of it was expected to be extremely high. The hounds had to, if the hounds were in good order, the kennels need to be clean and tidy, well fed, and you had to be well turned out.
Yes, it obviously has a knock-on effect on to how the hounds behave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is essential.
There's a tradition. There's a tradition of a way how you speak to a hound, how it's done. You don't to make a lot of noise is not the way forward. You do it quietly. If it's like with any animal. If you want the respect of an animal, you respect it, and they will respect you.
So, any ordinary civilian, as we call them, cannot have any response from these hounds. They don't look at a civilian. They only look to that one man, don't they? And the people in charge of them.
If anybody cares for a dog or hound or whatever, you're the one that looks after it. You're the one that walks out. You're the one that cleans it out in the morning, and you're the one time that's. If you want a really good pack of hounds, it's time spent with them. People that literally just spend 10 minutes in the morning and out, and then they're gone, and they won't get the quality the quality they would out of if they didn't.
I think that's what's so moving about them, that they only have eyes for one man who looks after them, and I think
absolutely.
That's
I mean, going
extraordinary.
Going down to the kennels. I was beforehand until the band came in. I was a professional, so I was doing it. I was employed by the hunt to look after the hounds, and then when the band came in, I was asked to come and help run the hunt. Because fewer people wanted to do the job, and I should have done it years ago before that. But I didn't want. I love working with the hounds, even to doing the work in the mornings with the hounds, mucking them out, changing the beds. And my routine of the hounds, we start early in the morning, because obviously we want to get the hounds out before too many other people get out in the mornings, otherwise the roads get too busy. I mean, we're very fortunate in the Flint and Denbigh country when I was here. There wasn't a great amount of traffic. But to go down in the morning, I always like to be near enough first down there. Most of the time, sometimes I wanted the whipper in to be there, so he'd have a look at them first, and he'll know you keep an eye on them. But when you first go in the kennels in the morning, it's the greeting you get. It's just there's a feeling and everything else that you can't beat.
Yeah, that's the reward for the
absolutely.
time spent with them.
Yeah. And they're the one person in the day that you're not going to get told off by.
So, summertime for a huntsman and the hound shows and hound parades, was that an enjoyable time for you?
It used to make me laugh, because as soon as we used to finish hunting, there's always some bright spark will come along and say, well, you've got nothing to do now, have you? It's you've got the summer off. It's far from it.
Yeah.
The summer is as busy in a different type of way. You've got puppy show, because they're all flat out hunting all winter. The kennels get sort of not disrepair, but they need, the bits and pieces that you haven't got time to do them. So you've got the puppy show to get ready. You tidy the kennels up. Hunt staff have got pride on the kennels, and they want the place to look immaculate, because people will call in. You've got puppy shows, the biggest event of the hunting calendar, where you produce the young hounds for the puppy walkers and visiting hunt staff and some subscribers to see the following season. And it's a good time for a lot of people don't come to the kennels. that in any other time of year, except for that. And it's nice that, it's one time in the year where you can get the kennels exactly how you want it. I had a hate-love relationship with hound parades because it was a lot of work for, a very short time. But it's, one thing I do think is quite sad now, but it's quite understandable. With the pageantry that goes with hunting, the hunt staff in scarlet coats and everything like that. But a lot of hunters now no longer wear scarlet coats, which goes right back to James. James II was the person who introduced. He was the first person to be seen out hunting in the scarlet coat. If hounds are being paraded, I'm a great believer in that hunt staff should be paraded in scarlet, because that's what we fought for. The tradition, all those years prior to the ban, we fought for the traditions of hunting that it had done for all those years. And also, a lady likes a gentleman in a uniform.
There is a bit of the scarlet fever, as they call it, yes. Are there any particular judges that you can remember? Because inviting people to the kennels to check in on your hounds must be a great pleasure. So some of them give an awful lot in their speech. And can you remember any good jokes or any good speeches?
If someone told me a joke now, I'd forget it in 10 minutes.
Well, can you remember someone who did a good job of it then?
Julian Barnfield I invited him because he was very influential for several years, giving me some draft hounds and a bit of guidance sort of thing.
Was he at the Heathrow then?
He was at the Heathrow then. No, sorry, he was at the Cotswold then before he went to the Heathrow.
Right.
And he said to me before the puppy show, how risque can I get? And I said, just go for it. Anyway, after he said 2 or 3 jokes, after the first one, there was a bit of a grunting and groan, and the people doing the grunting and groan were laughing the loudest on the last joke. So.
What about hunting teas? Because this is another great pleasure.
It's nothing nicer. There's nothing nicer, especially. One of the etiquettes of hunting is to so people who are hunting or subscribers or whatever, come say good morning to the hunt staff in people who are hunting, because they're not going to see them again because they're off doing the job, and they're constantly if anybody used to speak to me out hunting, want a conversation with them, they got sort of a bit of a grunt and a groan and that bit about it, because you're there to concentrate and to stop for a quick cup of tea. After hunting was always lovely. Yeah. A nice glass.
So did the Flint and Denbigh have hunting teas?
Occasionally. If it was in the right place at the right time, someone would say, "Well, come in for a cup of tea," sort of thing. Yeah. My experiences of going with the Wednesday. Bert. I think I don't know who started it, but certainly Bert. My time when Bert was at the kennels, when Chris was there was a big pot of tea on the go after hunting, and I do enjoy, after hunting, and possibly a nice piece of fruitcake or something like that, with a cup of tea and or a coffee, something with a splash of whiskey on the top, and with the Wednesday, it's sort of carried. You go to certain places. I mean, especially going to Mrs. Owen's house, where you get the sausages come out and they're delicious.
Wow, yeah.
When I'm not one for eating out. I was never one for eating out hunting, and it's when you get off the horse and it's like, oof, dear, I've a job to stand because I'm knackered.
It's a celebration of it's always a happy day. The Wednesday and the Flint and Denbigh are very close, aren't they? I mean, we're going to the point to point this weekend, a joint point to point. We've always worked closely together. It's because of the Williams Wynn family, isn't it?
Absolutely. Really? Yeah. I mean, I've been very fortunate to when I was master and huntsman of the Flint and Denbigh, virtually Sir Watkin was my next door neighbour, and I'd always keep him informed of what was going on, and I'd always make sure that if we were hunting in the area, I'd make sure I would see him, and I'd go into the office. And we'd sit for half an hour, 3/4 an hour talking about hunting, and him reminiscing about his days of hunting hounds, and
he hunted
the Flint and Denbigh and was master of the Wednesday.
Yes.
And he was very knowledgeable, and he was a good person to talk to and bounce ideas off and everything else, because I kept him informed on how we were breeding the hounds and stuff like that, because he was very much interested.
But there wasn't any interaction, was there, breeding wise, between the two packs?
Oh, there was. Quite often, because for many years they were bred on the same lines, and then there was things went wrong several years ago, and hounds were drafted in from all over the country, I used a lot of the same. I tried to keep the old English noses in them, and I quite often did use the same stallion hounds as the Wednesday did, and it seemed to work. I mean, if you look at the breeding, there'll be the same stallion hounds were used.
And I suppose 2 packs of hounds because the country was so big, connected to the family because the country was so vast.
I mean, there must be a reason why there being the old English type in the Flint and Denbigh country is because it worked. It's not years and years of knowledge passed down, and it worked. You didn't want they wouldn't have because it's quite a tight country. You didn't want fast flying hounds that you couldn't live with, because you would have no horses left. They used to hunt their quarry, whether it's a rag or a fox or whatever, in a methodical type way.
Since the hunting ban, I feel there's been a lot more interaction between different hunts, which has got to be a good thing.
I think there always has been, but it's become much more prominent. Much more prominent in especially the last 10 years. Because when the ban came in, nobody knew. Everybody was very nervous about how it was going to carry on, if it was going to work, working within the laws and the boundaries of the governance of the law, sort of thing. And the one thing that the people at the top, whether it's huntsman or masters, whatever, they'll talk to the neighbours and bounce ideas off them. It's got much more prominent. And a lot of countries now have got, with urbanisation, roads, different types of farming, for whatever. The hunt countries have diminished, and so and it's become much more common over the last 10 years. Joint meets. You can go off, on your subscription for with Windsor, the Flint and Denbigh. You could go off and have they would go to the North Staffs or the Stroud Shropshire or wherever, and sometimes Winstead have been up north to the College Valley and places like that, and it's nice that you can go and have a look at another country, because it's
they're all so different, aren't they? You're clearly a very dedicated man, and you've been trained to the highest standards and had a great professional career. I also get some of my little sources say that you'd like practical jokes.
No, I wouldn't. That's hurtful, Claire. That's hurtful.
So there must be a side you haven't told me. What are these practical jokes?
I just like to like to be awkward. Just a few practical. Like, practical jokes should be fun, made and lighten the situation up.
Absolutely.
And as long as it doesn't cost or hurt anybody, it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to tell me any of them.
No.
Right,
No.
okay.
I would think somewhere along the line, on many occasions, it's bit me up at the arse more than one occasion where people have got done me back. I mean, there was one particular time when Lucy was away, and I'd been down to an old friend who was master of the Tedworth down south, and he was a really good friend of mine. I had a long drive back that night, and I came back, and I found a number of people in my garden having a barbecue.
Oh, right. Enjoying themselves. Yeah. Right, now, Jeremy, on this gorgeous day, I'm going to fire into the quick fire questions. Port or whiskey?
Definitely whiskey.
The best or worst thing about country life?
The best thing has got to be, how everybody sticks together. And the worst, I would think, is social media is just ruining the knowledge and everything else about the countryside. I mean, it's a good thing, social media, but it's just, the old stories are disappearing because people spend too much time using social media rather than listening to their elders and whatever about the old stories about how the world used to be.
Yes. Have you ever lost a favourite item of kit in a muddy field?
Hunting whip.
Oh dear.
I went back to look for it and it had disappeared.
Yeah. Oh dear. Favourite pub snack?
Nice bit of fish.
Favourite hound name?
Well, I always like to chuck something in the fray. I gave hounds to a Welsh pack, and I said to them, if you ever bred from it, I'd like some pups back. And anyway, these 2 pups came back, woolly and big-eared things, they were half Welsh. And so I said, I've got to find a really good name for it. So I called one Mavanwi.
Lovely. And if you could share a pint with a hunting person, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, so many different people. So many different people. You know, there's been some really influential people. George Cook, who was originally from the North Staffs country, was Kennel Huntsman of the Beedale. If ever I had a question or a problem, I would ring him.
Your most admired hunting person? Is that slightly different?
I think Peter Jones.
Who we're from?
From the Pytchley.
From the Pytchley.
I mean, I whipped into him for 5-6 seasons, and he just showed me, you know, a different style of hunting. You were hunting in Leicestershire, and everything had to be done, as Captain Wallace would say, with Varouche. You know, it's you are there to entertain people. You know, and when things. I was with him prior to the ban. This was from 1989 to whatever. You know, once you'd lost a quarry, you had to get on and find another one, and there was no hanging about. It was just continuous. You know, when you got off the horse at the end of the day, and he was, you know, and he's still a very good friend of mine, and I value his opinion and everything. So,
do you have a lesson from hunting that applies to everyday life?
Yeah, be patient. Be patient with people. You know, everybody who may not grasp a situation quickly. You know, I've always said, you know, you can't make a whipper-in. A whipper-in will make it because he'll click into what you want and how it works and everything else. And patience and being nice. It doesn't cost anything to be nice to people. You know, get the best out of them. You know, when I pass away, I hope the church is full.
I'm sure it will be, Jeremy. It's been a privilege and a great pleasure to listen to you this morning. Thank you very much,
Glenn.
indeed.
Been delighted. Thank you.
Thank you for listening, and please share with your friends, which helps a lot. And I look forward to next month when it could be you in the driving seat.